Folks, this is not a drill. We have another major prospect call up in Chase Burns, and we also have Jack Cagliogne heating up with 2 home runs over the weekend. We have those names and more that you must add to your team on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ahne. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify, that allows 5-star ratings and reviews. We would truly appreciate it if you do that for us as well. And lastly, but what's most important to you guys and Matt and I, join us on the Insiders Track. On the Insiders Track, we offer so much more than we can in these 30-minute episodes, including ranking these guys that you will see today and telling you how you should prioritize them when you pick them up, and instant prospect call-up notifications as well. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Matt, I feel like we've been saying this every episode almost for the past, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's like Christmas every day. Another major prospect call-up alert, arguably the top pitching prospect left in the minors in all of baseball. We get Chase Burns on this lovely, as we're recording Sunday, but as you guys are listening Monday. Matt, what do you think about him?
So I'm like super excited to see what he's going to do. He's an intriguing name. Chase Burns is probably one of the more fun names here. So the fact that he plays for the Reds, just so everybody knows, he's 6'3", 210 pounds. If you're not familiar with the big Italian stallion over here, was drafted in the 20th round by the Padres in 2021, and then didn't go back, and then decided, okay, I'm going to go back in the draft, and a couple years later, and get drafted in the first round, second pick, and dude just been lighting it up, forced his way up within, pretty much played his first round this year in the minors after just getting drafted out of college, and said, okay, cool. I'm going to come up and play. And the season numbers are bonkers. Like 13 starts and 66 innings, 89 strikeouts, a 1.77 ERA and a 0.77 whip. It's really impressive. The fact that they, not only just called him up this quick, but elevated him quick. He went from A+ to AA and then AAA, which is just kind of bonkers. I've never seen a progression go this fast, at least from a guy, except for I would even say Skeens, but I don't even think Skeens even whiffed the AAA. So with Burns, I'm actually pretty excited too. And you look at what's under the hood too, in terms of what Fangraphs and other sites kind of rate him as. His fastball's a 70 out of 70, his slider's 60 out of 70, curveball's 50 out of 55, changeup's 40 out of 45, and the command is 30 out of 45. The dude is great. He's actually really interesting. The only part that I see that's going, for a fantasy standpoint, is that's going to be a challenge with him is the fact that he's going to pitch in Great American Hitter Park. And I think that we've seen pitchers like Hunter Green be successful, and he probably would be the number one pitcher in the league right now if it wasn't for the fact that dude just can't stay out of the ER. And, we see a path for guys to be successful on the Reds. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take to get used to the short porch and the way things happen, what kind of adjustments need to be made. So he's going to be an impact guy, but he's not going to be a guy that we're going to be leaning on as heavy, or is going to be the super impactful guy because of, I think, the limitations of home starts. So with Chase Burns, I have high expectations, but you need to be, if you're going to own Chase Burns, you can't get upset when he has these blow-up games, because he's going to be pitching at home for half his starts, and that's what's going to create a challenge ultimately. So with Chase Burns, you need to add him 100%, and just see where this journey takes us. But, you need to be patient, because at some point it might pan out, or it might not this season. But I think he's a name we're going to be talking about for quite some time.
Yeah, Matt, I'm with you on Chase Burns. Honestly, I'll say this right now. If you haven't already, it's a pause the podcast moment. Make sure Chase Burns isn't available unless you're playing like a 6-man league. I'd say he's viable in pretty much every fantasy league out there. At least, as Matt said, give him the shot, see what he can do. He's number 11 overall prospect in all of baseball. Arguably the top pitching prospect. You got Painter down there and Bubba Chandler too, who have both had their moments. A little ups and downs for both of those guys, especially Chandler of late. But Burns, as Matt talked about, has just dominated every step of the way. The control's been really, really good. Strikeout numbers have been fantastic. Even in his most recent start, which was only his second start in AAA, he went 7, 1 hit, no walks, 7 strikeouts. Just looked fantastic. Every step of the way in the minors, the whip has been under 1. I just think there's really big upside here with a guy like Chase Burns. Matt, you broke him down really well. I'm just going to say he's 30% owned in Yahoo right now. Once again, go out there and snag him if he's available in your league. Let's see where the thing goes. He's projected to start Tuesday against the Yankees. Listen, it's the beginning of the week. You might just want to throw him out there and see how the kid looks. Scouting reports might not be great on him yet. A lot of rookie pitchers like this will go out there in the first start and look well. As the pitching scouting reports develop on how he pitches, then that's when things start to get a little shaky. He's got to develop or react back to the scouting report. But right now, I'm adding Chase Burns anywhere I can. I'm probably going to throw him out there on Tuesday and just see what the kid can do. Let's move on to this next guy, former top prospect who's finally starting to gain a little bit of momentum here. It's Brian Bello of those Boston Red Sox. He's up to 28% owned, and he's had a nice little stretch of starts here of late, right? Especially those last 2. He went out on June 15th against the Yankees, 7 innings, got the win, 8 strikeouts, no earned runs, 0.86 whip. In his last one on June 21st at San Francisco, 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 earned run, 0.83 whip. And even on the year, Bello, 12 starts, only 3 wins, 3.31 ERA, a 1.41 whip, which is really high. But 65 innings, 51 strikeouts, not horrible. He's been better of late. He goes out there next week against the Blue Jays. I'd listen. I'd throw him out there. He's been pretty good. Honestly, 3 earned runs or less in his last 6 starts. Love to see that. So as when he's going out there and he's giving you, at least somewhat length, 6 innings in his last 4, good strikeout numbers in the last 2, he's going in the right direction. I'd at least add him to see where it's going. Don't think there's super long-term value or breakout value here, but hey, listen, could he be a guy that rides around the end of your rotation? Wouldn't be shocked. But Brian Bello, once again, Boston Red Sox starting pitcher, 28% owned on Yahoo, gets Toronto next week.
Yeah, no, I like Mr. Bello for this start, so I'll roll him out there this week. It's a great streamer, but this next guy's an even better streamer. It's Ryan Nelson, playing for those Arizona Diamondbacks, starting pitcher. So here's the deal, right? Like, he has a good matchup coming up playing against the Chicago White Sox on I believe Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, Thursday, June 24th. Oh, no, I apologize, on Tuesday. And it's a good matchup, quite honestly. I mean, outside of Luis Roberts starting to come back a little bit, there's really nobody else on that team that you're truly scared of. I think he's going to be able to go in there and light things up. He's had a couple games where, he's able to keep the ERA down and things like that. He's not really a big strikeout guy. You look at it, he walks away with a lot of 3K, 4K games. But, at least is on a team where, hey, they're probably going to get the win. He's probably going to be able to create some strikeouts at minimum 4, go about 5 innings, so you won't get the quality start if you're looking for that. But at least the ERA and statistics are going to be down and everything's going to be that. So he's a good stream, 6% owned. I mean, why not do it? His fastball has been absolutely filthy this year. It's been getting some sick movement, and it has a batting average of 195. The other pitchers are just waiting to get blown up, so there's that possibility as well. So he does come with some risk. His off-speed pitches and his breaking balls are all flat as can be. So, it's pretty much just Ed and Eddie out there with Plank. But ultimately, it comes with some risk. But I think this matchup is such a cupcake matchup that you kind of just can't pass up on the value. 6% on Ryan Nelson.
Yeah, Matt, with Nelson, he wound up being the Corbin Burns replacement for the Diamondbacks. And, when the Burns injury was announced and, Nelson was coming back to the rotation, I talked about how he was useful for stints last year. He made 25 starts, 4.24 ERA, 150 innings, 126 strikeouts with a 1.25 ERA, especially in those 15-mans, your NL onlys. You would definitely use him here and there. If not, you had him at the end of your rotation. Think he could be similar this year. Love the White Sox matchup, as Matt talked about. Once again, 6% owned for Ryan Nelson, Arizona Diamondback starting pitcher. I definitely want to throw him out there this Tuesday and see how that works out. But before we move on, and we got a closer and Chris Martin, and we have to talk about Jack Caglione's huge weekend. Those names and more coming up next.
Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. They are absolutely wonderful. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, each 1 ounce serving of 6 grams of protein, and is giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that help you keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shell variety. I am a parent and you barely have time to breathe, eat, let alone do anything else. So they're a perfect grab and go snack, especially that shellless option. It's wonderful. Then when I feel like cracking into something, I go with that classic, in shell variety where I can just get, crack things open and have a beer. So get snacking, get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Hey, look, we mentioned at the top. It's time to get yourself in on that insider track with the Locked On Fantasy Baseball over here. Quite honestly, look, you want more than what we offer here. There's a way. You get in there, you're able to ask us questions. We'll get back to you in 24 hours. You're going to get today's episode, who to prioritize. You're going to get key stats that are highlighted that we feel you need to focus in on and remember from the episode. And then, any kind of prospect call up like Chase Burns, like I saw the alert. It came through at like a midnight, but I didn't see it. Obviously, I was sleeping. But I woke up at 4 with the little minions that I have, and I was like, "Hey, Chase Burns got called up. Here you go at him." So, it's one of those things where you're going to be ahead of most of the league, especially with that. So, go in there. Jonas, links in the description below, and quite honestly, get 2 weeks. But with that being said, Dom, please take this next guy here.
Yeah, Matt, we've been talking about him a bit recently with all these good starts piling up. It's Jose Soriano, starting pitcher from the Los Angeles Angels, and he's now made it 3 straight really, really good starts. The last one being against Houston on June 21st. He went 6.2 innings, got the win, struck out 10, gave up 1 earned run, and had a 0.9 whip. Here's the thing with Jose Soriano. If he's going out there and he's not walking guys and he's getting those whiffs like he can do, he's going to be pretty good. But he's just known for leaving too many guys on base, not really bad with the long ball either. It's just that those walks gather up and then, they get driven in. When he gets around that, he's a very good pitcher. Even his 3 years in the bigs, it's 248 innings of a 3.45 ERA, which shows he's pretty good at limiting runs. Let's just do a season number: 16 starts on the year, which has actually tied for the major league lead. 3.39 ERA, 93 innings pitched, 43 walks, which is killing him, 80 strikeouts, and a 1.41 whip, which is pretty high. It's the whip is up there. He's never going to be a whip specialist, but when he gets on these stretches like this, where the command is really good, literally let's walk through the last 3. June 10th against the Athletics, 7 innings, 12 strikeouts for Soriano, 1 earned run, 0.57 whip. And then Soriano against the Yankees in the stadium on June 16th, 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, no earned runs, 1 whip. When he's on a stretch like this, I want to own him. I want to have him on my team. He's 36% owned on Yahoo. He goes up against the Nationals this week. Good matchup. Really get past James Woods and CJ Abrams. They haven't really been doing well in the last 10. The Nationals are 2-8, 32-45 on the year. Hey, listen, that's a game that Soriano can go out there and he could strike out 10 again. I'm at least adding him for that one. And you know what? If you can keep it rolling for a bit, you keep him on your team, especially if he's out there in those deep leagues. I'll say that your 12, your deep 12s, your 15s. If he's out there in those, add him to the end of your bench and just try and avoid the blow up starts. You'll kind of see the trend coming with a guy like Soriano.
Well said, Dom. I mean, hey, you started him last week. You were a happy camper. Let's put it that way. So, well said. I'm going to move on, actually, and I'm going to talk about our boy Chris Martin over at for a Texas Ranger closer. And this one's an interesting one, and I think we might be seeing a closer change on the team. So he got the call over Garcia in this last outing on Saturday, and that's big when the main closer that has the job has availability, and they're calling a dude over him to get the save. That is interesting. And I mean, it wasn't like, okay, it was like a 2-run game or whatever. It was a 1-run lead, and that speaks volume as to where the shift might come. And it's not like Garcia has a long leash. So with that, I want to add Chris Martin speculatively. He's 20% owned, so why not? And if he racks you up another save or two, then you're happy. If he doesn't, and Garcia seems to be getting the predominant workload going into next week, then you drop him. It's but it's worth it, because if you can kind of get ahead of the waiver wire and not be playing catch up and chasing it and getting ahead, this is the perfect opportunity. So go ahead and add Chris Martin. See if he can take this job out from under Garcia.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I'm not super excited about anyone closing to Texas right at the moment,
Right.
but listen, I'll take Chris Martin. I think he's the better pitcher of the two. Matt Will said 20% owned on Yahoo. Chris Martin got the last save for the Rangers. Could be a change of the guard here, especially because I do think Chris Martin is better than Robert Garcia. But Matt, I'm super, super excited to talk about this next guy, as I know you are. Jack is on the board for his first two home runs. It was in the same game.
All right, that's enough. Okay.
Yeah, so the Italian's on the board. He goes 2 for 4 against the Rangers on the 19th with 2 bombs. Looks like he's starting to catch his stride here. Took a couple of walks, as well over the weekend. So he's moving in the right direction. It's only a 217 batting average through his first 16 games, but listen, it takes time. Think Bobby Witt and Julio Rodriguez in their first season. Took them all about 2.5 months to get it going. I don't know if Jack is going to take as long. I love the power stroke. I was talking about him, comparing him to Adam Dunn, man. I think there's a lot of Adam Dunn and Caglione. I think, if worst case scenario, if he winds up being a 240, 250 hitter with 40 plus home runs a year, we're not going to be mad at that. But let's see. The kid's still young. I'm not dropping him anywhere. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to trade for him and add him in anywhere I can. He's 51% owned on Yahoo. He's down 9% over the last couple of days. Once again, Jack Cagliogne, former top prospect in all of, well, not the number one top prospect in all of baseball, top 10, top 5 prospect in all of baseball. Let's give the kid a little bit of a chance here and just take advantage of where he's being dropped, pick him up. A lot of power in this bat.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm super excited for this kid. He was highly anticipated. I honestly didn't think he was going to get the call this fast either. But when you hit 6 home runs over the last 6 games, and you're just like, okay, well, I guess we kind of got to call the kid up. He looks kind of ready, right? And that's essentially what he did. He forced his way onto the team, and hey, good for him, man. I mean, dude hit 15 home runs in the minors through like 199 at bats. Like, hell yeah. Like, this kid is looking like he's ready to crush. He batted 322 in the minors, which, I mean, obviously that's not sustainable. But I mean, hey, I think that we're probably going to see about a 245 batting average, like you said, this to finish the year. And then I think that we might see, a career kind of batting average of anywhere from like 265 to 285 in that kind of range. That's kind of the upside. So in dynasty plays, like, he's obviously a guy that, you know, if you're not in a position to win and you're just like pretty much like, okay, I'm going to rebuild, this is a guy that you're willing to sell your vets for and kind of try and get on your team. So Caglione, great take on saying, hey, guy you're trying to acquire, but also too in redrafts or anywhere at this point, Caglione just needs to be added. The Italian mobster over here. But let's move on. Let's talk about Alec Burleson playing for those St. Louis Cardinals first and outfield eligibility. And I don't think there's any long-term value in this dude at all, even though he's having a great season, batting 314 on the year. But like, he's just like a good baseball player in terms of, what his stat line is. He he's having a really hot week. He has three home runs this week, 4 runs, nine ribs, and batting 423. And even over the last 2 weeks, he's batting 389. So I mean, like I said, he's on a tear right now. Good for him. But ultimately, after this, he kind of cools off. I'm going to drop him like he's hot because I really don't really care to own him at this point. He's not going to let up the stat sheets in terms of home runs. He's not going to do it and ribs. And it's just going to be mediocrity in terms of performance. And I'd rather have a higher upside player on my bench than Burleson, because there's no way he's starting for you unless you're in like a 15-man league or deeper, or like something where like, okay, he becomes relevant where you have like a corner or corner infield kind of type deal. But for Burleson, he's a good baseball player, but in the standard Yahoo league and things like that, his relevancy really does take a dip. So ride the wave while he's hot.
Before I jump in and give my take on Alec Burleson, and then we got names like Matt McLain and Colton Cowser, those names and more coming up next. And all right, summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, and guys, that's always the fun thing. You could do those mid-game prop bets. You could jump in there in the middle of the ninth inning. Hey, listen, he's going to strike this guy out, get the save. And listen, if you're going to do that, you get in on it. You go to FanDuel. New customers are going to be able to just bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started now. All right, Matt, let's jump back in with Burleson real quick. I think he'd be a little hard on the young kid. He's a little bit scrappy. He's only 26. I like where the progression's going in his career. I'll say this, in points leagues, he's actually somewhat better because he takes a walk every now and then, good walk to strikeout ratio. And has just developed pretty solidly over his 3 years in the bigs. In 2023, 244, last year, 269, this year up to 314. When we're talking about batting average, he also had 21 homers, 9 steals last year with 78 RBIs and 71 runs over 152 games. That's pretty useful. And then they even have moved Alec Burleson up to third in the batting order of how good he's been hitting of late. I'm not saying I think that he's going to be like a league winner or anything like that. But hey, listen, if you need a first base outfield guy, you lost Harper, you lost somebody else in the outfield maybe. Hey, listen, he could be a real plug and play bat, at least while he's hot. I'm riding the wave, until something better comes along, because I think this kid at 26 years old is showing the kind of progression you want to see. He's got good exit velocities. The underlying stuff looks good for batting average. Not everything looks great, but listen, could he be a 20 homer guy again with sprint speed is not really great. So I'm not banking on a whole bunch of steals from the kid, but he's already got 3. So showing the willingness to steal is good as well. Can he get up to 6, 7 maybe? Yeah, with 20 homers and some decent counting stats, especially batting third, and hit maybe 280? Yeah, it's definitely in the cards for a guy like Burleson. So I'll at least say this. If you already do have him on your team, he's not a drop for me. And listen, if you need the position eligibility that he has, someone that can hit for a little bit of batting average, a little bit of mediocre pop, Burleson might be your guy. But let's keep things pushing. Let's move on to somebody who's actually been good in the bigs before, starting to heat back up, Matt McLain, right? Coming back off the big injury, didn't play at all last year. Has the second and short eligibility on Yahoo. Like I said, heating back up in his last game with 3 for 5 with 2 runs, actually on a nice little hit streak here. It looks like almost, 9-game hit streak here for McLain. Has a homer over that stretch, 4 RBIs. 4, 5, 6, 7 runs. Starting to really show the Matt McLain type skill set. Has really great speed. Can hit some home runs in that ballpark. Actually, he's in the 93rd percentile of sprint speed, Matt McLain is. And second base has been tough. So if you need someone that plays second, even short hasn't been good as, we thought it was going to be coming into the year. So a guy like McLain in a good lineup, hitting ninth. So, he's going to get driven in a good amount, which has shown over the last few games. I didn't realize his ownership got up that high. So McLain is a little bit higher than we normally talk about in the show. That's my fault. Up to 71% owned on Yahoo. So for you guys that are out there and, a little bit of a shallower league, McLain still might be out there. Wow, I didn't think the community was that savvy to McLain at the moment. But listen, guys, it just shows right there at the ownership right now for McLain. Go out there and snag him if he's out there. I like what he can do. Power, speed, combo in a good lineup. Going to give you some runs as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hey, he's 70% on. That just means that, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of talking about him, but he's definitely worth even having a conversation. He's performing well. And it is what it is. Let's move on. Let's talk about Lourdes Gurriel of the Arizona Diamondbacks playing outfield. And he's about 53% owned, so definitely under the threshold. He's out there and a little bit more than, 40% of leagues, and that's good. So I'm pretty excited for that. I want to get him on my team for at least right now. He's producing batting average off the waiver wire, which if you've been around for a while, You already know what I'm about to say. And if you're new, batting average off the waiver wire is something that I definitely cherish and I try to acquire because it's really hard. And sometimes guys just slumping. You need to at least not have that category being destroyed. And Gurriel is just doing that. I mean, he's batting 250 over the last week, which is, mediocre, but over the last 2 weeks, 305 on the month of 323. And, has been decent. He isn't going to blow you away on the stat sheet, but he's just being consistent. So he's the same kind of I'm lumping him in with like Burleson, right? Like I don't really care to have him on my team all that often, but like if I'm struggling in the batting average category, I'll add him for now and then just kind of move on from that because I mean it is what it is. The upside isn't there with Gurriel, but at least hey, he's doing something right. And while you're having struggling players, you can at least get them out there. Our outfield has been so finicky this year that it's maybe worth the shot of adding him for just the short term.
Yeah, Matt, good take with the comp with Gurriel and Burleson. I'll say this, Gurriel is Burleson just proven. Gurriel has been doing this a long time. He's a career 277 hitter, over 817 games. So that batting average is going nowhere but up at this point, He's got a little bit of pop. He's hit he 18 homers last year, 24 the year before, 21 in 2021 was the he played last time he was healthy. Before that wasn't really healthy in 22. So he's got good pace for power. He'll chip in some steals. He's already up to 6 on the year. His career high is 7. So you know what? That's showing that they want him to steal bags this year, and he's willing to do it. The batting average is going up. Lourdes Gurriel is just a guy who's on the upswing. We know who he is. He's proven. Not going to be a star, but listen, if he's out there in, deep 12 where you need outfield help, I'd go out there and snag him because he can do a little bit of everything. Let's move on to potentially our last guy of the episode. Let's talk about Colton Cowser. And man, I just kind of want to preface this, man. What happened to Baltimore, man? I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm disappointed in what's been going on in Baltimore over there this year. But Colton Cowser, former high-end prospect, heating up over his last few games here. Since getting back healthy, he was actually banged up for a bit. Missed a bit of time, came back. Had dealt with a little bit of a re-injury and has been healthy for the last 5-6 games here. Has 3 home runs over that stretch, 7 RBIs, even stole a bag, had a multi-hit game on June 19th. Colton Cowser's strict power, man. He's a big dude, big lefty bat, has a lot of power in that bat. Could be like, 230, 240 guy with like a 30-ish home run kind of pace. That's what you're going to add him for. He's up to 50% owned on Yahoo. He's been hitting. They moved him up to 5th, 6th in that lineup, since he's been getting his groove and healthier. Could drive in a bunch of runs. If you need power runs, that's what Colton Cowser is going to give you. I'm not really going to bank on him for too much else. Kind of the opposite of Lourdes Gurriel and Burleson. This guy's just straight pop, straight to it. I'm not going to really bank on him for more than RBIs and runs.
No, I mean, fair enough. I mean, I think the changing of the coach is going to definitely help things improve. But I mean, the team right now just looks like a shell of what we all expected. So it's kind of crazy. But you gave a great take. I'm adding somebody real quick to the show. Last minute one, since we got a little bit of time. Mickey Moniak of the Colorado Rockies playing outfield. He's having a tear of a week. He's 5% owned, and he's at home at least for the next 3 games against the Dodgers. Yes, it's the Dodgers, but still, Mickey Moniak is just feeling the groove right now, and I want to add him. 5 runs, 3 bombs, 6 ribs, a stolen base, batting 368 over the last week. And the fact that he's hitting at home, guy that has some power in him, is somebody that I just kind of want to get and see if can I maybe capitalize on this hot streak essentially, right? And it might be a great streamer. I don't think there's long-term play with this at all. So just ride this wave, and while he's home, let's just ride it out. I'm trying to see if he's going to be home for the rest of the week. That would be the big key part right there, because if he isn't, he's an all-week streamer for me, and he'll probably be in the lineup most of the time. If not, then it is what it is. So let me look real quick as I get this pulled up since we have a few minutes. So yeah, it looks like they're at home all week, if I'm reading this correctly.
I don't think so. I think they go to Milwaukee. Yeah,
they go to Milwaukee. So at least the next 3 games, you can kind of start them for the stint against the Dodgers, and then just kind of ride it from there. I mean, hey, it's a home run. That's a cheap little thing, and it's really about it.
I'm a sucker for Mickey Moniak, man. Even the former number 1 pick. He just kid that was super, super talented, man, and just dealt with a lot of injuries, a lot of other stuff, a lot of off the field things. And had a monster 2023 where he hit 280, 14 home runs for the Angels. That was in only 85 games. So the kid has pop, as Matt was talking about. Might as well throw him out there while he's in Coors and see if the Rockies will give this kid some consistent playing time because, man, he deserves it. 5% owned on Yahoo for Mickey Moniak. But, guys, with that being said, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after you make us your first listen, go check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB and check him out. Does things differently than we do. We put the fantasy spin on things. He puts the real world take on things. So go over and check once again Sully out over at Locked On MLB. But guys, until next time,
Peace.